The hardest phase of amputation recovery wasn't the hospital stay or even amputation day. For me, the most intense phase was from 1 week post-amputation to 8 weeks. I'm Stephanina, and today I'll tell you why. During the first week of recovery, my pain was mostly in my actual leg. And while that's significant, my leg did just get chopped off. It was pain that could be affected by things like pain meds and muscle relaxants. Different hospitals have different nerve blocks. I think that's where they did one of the nerve blocks. They did 2. Maybe if we look around, yeah, there's the other one. My nerve block lasted 14 hours, but there are others that can last a few days. My hospital just didn't offer those. Bummer. Point being, those first few days, you might be in a lot of pain, or you might not if you've got a long-lasting nerve block. Pain in my residual limb definitely spiked when the bandages were changed, but in general, my post-surgical pain decreased with time. By the end of that first week, I was seeing some improvement. Things looked like they were getting better.
So you just got your leg chopped off and you want to hit the ground running. Tip number 1, don't hit the ground running. It will hurt and may result in more surgery. No hitting anything that's stumpy.
Then I was plunged into a whole new realm of pain. Enter the phantom pain. The first thing you should know is the difference between phantom pain and phantom sensation. Phantom sensation means you can feel your non-existent limb, but it isn't hurting.
I have had some phantom sensations where it feels like I can feel my foot, but not painful.
Phantom pain is a different story. For me, the phantom sensation started as soon as I woke up from amputation, but the phantom pain didn't start until the end of day 5.
It's the end of day 5. I'm still in rehab and I'm definitely getting some phantom pain now. It feels like my non-existent leg has been squeezed and has a tingling sensation. I feel a lot of pressure by my non-existent ankle and the toes. I suspect we'll get other varieties of phantom pain. I've heard of things like feeling like a shock or a zap or a cattle prod. Haven't experienced that yet. It's kind of a general pressure and aching in a foot that no longer exists.
That was just the beginning. The phantom pain accelerated rapidly. Each day was more intense than the one before.
So my foot, as in my dead foot, it just feels like my toes, my foot are in this position, only it's scrunched. Feels like it's, in really tight shoes. It's making me think like ballerina shoes, and I am definitely not a ballerina.
The more my phantom limb woke up, the more variety the pain had.
Different sensations hurt different amounts. Getting crushed, I feel that one. Numb and tingly. Right now, it's pretty intense. It's not always this intense. Sometimes it's worse. Phantom limb pain, not cool. Feels like my nerves are twinging. Foot's getting crushed, my ankle's getting crushed, and my foot's asleep. Overall, don't recommend cutting off your leg for the funsies of it.
Everything from feeling crushed to twisted to stabbed, zaps and zings, taser blasts, and that pins and needles sensation when your foot falls asleep. Speaking of sleep, there was none. My phantom pain was worse at night. When I asked my doctor why, he said that we're just less distracted and notice pain more at night. Having experienced this phantom pain, I'm not convinced that that's the whole story, because the phantom pain sure felt more intense at night, even when I tried to distract myself. A different doctor said changing positions, such as when we lie down, can sometimes irritate nerves if they're already grumpy. My personal opinion is that the phantom is simply like werewolves and vampires and loves the night. But that's just my opinion. Speaking of which, the information in this video is based on my experience and what I've heard from other amputees and doctors I've talked to. It isn't medical advice, just me sharing my story. After amputation, you'll probably have regular appointments with your surgeon, plus whoever is managing your pain meds. At 16 days post-amputation, some of my stitches were taken out. The larger, deeper stitches had to stay in a bit longer. I'll be making a video all about this, so click the bell if you don't want to miss it. My first couple of months of recovery could be summed up as lots of physical and occupational therapy. I'm being tortured. Lots of pain meds and regular appointments with my doctors. If you're too drugged up to drive, you'll need a plan for getting to those appointments. To minimize outings, you can ask for a physical therapist to be sent to your home. though definitely make sure your insurance covers this first. If you don't have a custom wheelchair, now might be a good time to find a wheelchair rep and start the process, because you may have met your insurance deductible with the amputation, surgery, and hospital stay. Plus, sometimes insurance is more willing to pay for a wheelchair after amputation, even if they were reluctant while your leg was still on. The most important task is resting and recovering, which frankly is easier said than done.
Oh, 5 more minutes.
This phase of recovery was rough. With past surgeries, things got easier as time went on. Amputation was different. Every day the phantom pain got worse, not better.
My foot is getting stabbed.
I became more sleep deprived, more drugged up, more discouraged.
11 days post-op, and what is the pain like? Bad? In the first week, it was mostly like the actual stump that was hurting. At this point, it's the phantom limb pain that's bugging me every second of every day. Ouch.
My residual limb was still hurting, but not as badly as at first in that first week of post-amputation. However, the pain in my dead foot so vastly overshadowed the improvement in what was left of my leg that it was easy to forget that my leg was healing. This is when I hit my lowest low.
I feel like we've taken a step backwards, literally. And I pushed the nurse's button, and we'll see if they can get me some meds. Sometimes my other foot just kind of automatically goes to try to, rub it, make it settle down, but there's nothing there.
The worst part was that I felt helpless. When my actual leg was hurting, I could rub it, try an ice pack, and take medications. But how do you soothe something that isn't there? Research shows that mirror therapy can help phantom pain, but that same research shows that it can take weeks to see improvement. When you're in extreme pain, waiting weeks is not very comforting. After a month or two, how can you even tell whether it's the mirror therapy that helped you or just the passage of time?
Did you know you could also grow a second head?
I tried mirror therapy, and a physical therapist recommended an app that works on similar principles, but if these things helped, I couldn't tell. I mean, it still doesn't do any harm to try, especially since we're all different and research says mirror therapy is a good thing. But I wouldn't get your hopes up that mirror therapy will be a miracle cure. The same goes for meds. I was very drugged up, but still in too much pain to sleep.
It's hard to keep my eyes open. I feel really drugged up. I'd be asleep if I didn't hurt this much. So it's weird. So drugged up, I can't stay awake. I'm in too much pain to fall asleep.
I was on a lot of medications, including nerve meds, specifically for phantom pain. I saw no decrease in pain. I also didn't see much improvement when taking pain meds targeted at helping my residual limb. Every time I got close to falling asleep, a taser blast of phantom pain would jolt me fully awake.
I'm feeling a very steady buzz of electricity. It feels like lightning in the clouds, just like building up for a strike. Like it's just energy gathering, building. I have no clue when it's going to strike, but I bet you anything, you can tell when it does.
After going days with literally no sleep, not even naps, I tried sleep meds, but still couldn't fall asleep. I just can't sleep when I'm being tasered. It's worth noting that meds come with side effects and risks, including the risk of addiction and physical dependence. You also need to be careful about drug interactions. For example, for some meds I've had, it wasn't safe to take common painkillers like Tylenol at the same time. Med interactions can especially be problematic when different doctors prescribe different medications while someone else is prescribing something different. General practitioners are great, but given the complexity of something as major as amputation, I wanted someone like a pain specialist or med management doc overseeing everything I was told to swallow. I'll be putting out a video all about my experience with pain meds post-amputation and physical dependency, things like that.
They gave me more meds. They tripled my dosage to see if that would help, but it is still mighty strong. And the meds should have kicked in. It's been over an hour. It's not working. Might need a different med, but in order to do that, we'd have to gradually taper off the current med and then start tapering in the new med. Because some medications you can't just stop cold turkey without causing problems.
I personally didn't see a big difference when I took nerve pain medications or standard pain meds, but there were two things that did help me. A few days after amputation, I realized that a lot of the pain in my leg was because the muscles were spasming.
Like I have a lump right here.
I asked for muscle relaxants. The first one I tried didn't work great, but after some trial and error, I found one that did make a difference. Unlike the nerve pain medication, there was more flexibility in starting and stopping the muscle relaxants that I tried.
Now I find this muscle here spasms, so I've been taking the Flexeril.
And the Flexeril's working?
Yes, that worked better than trying actual pain meds. I think most of my pain in the stump itself has come from muscle spasms, which I didn't realize at first until I could see it with the dressing off. I'm like, wait a minute, it's a muscle spasm.
The other thing that helped my phantom pain was taking stool softeners. Hear me out. Many pain medications cause constipation. When that constipation builds up, it puts pressure on the surrounding organs and tissues. There are nerves in there, and some of them run down to my chopped off leg. I noticed a strong correlation between constipation and spikes of phantom pain. When I asked for a stool softener, I saw more of a difference than I did with the pain meds. I mean, it didn't fix the phantom pain. Rather, the stool softeners took away something that was aggravating it. For me, part of this recovery phase took place in a rehabilitation center. After a couple weeks in rehab, I continued my recovery at home. Some amputees don't get the option of rehab and are sent straight home after the hospital. And there are some definite pros and cons to going to rehab. It's one of several related topics that deserve their own video. So if you want more details on things like the phantom limb pain during those first couple months of recovery or rehab or things like that, I'll link a playlist at the end of today's video. Aside from the pain itself, the other hard part was that it just felt like there was no end in sight.
It's late. Bye.
I didn't know if this was a passing phase or whether things would stay this way forever. Nor did I have anyone to talk to who'd been through the same thing. The closest was my prosthetist. He said that a lot of his patients experience super intense phantom pain at first, then it turns the corner around the 8-week mark and life gets better. But like I said earlier, every amputee is different. Some amputees never even experience phantom pain. Those who do may have different levels of phantom pain. It might be more mild or more intense, steady, or it comes and goes. But from what I've heard, it's common for phantom pain to start around 1 week post-amputation and stay intense until about 8 weeks. That's exactly how it turned out for me.
So, to sum up my list of grievances, sleep deprivation is number 1. Pain is the cause of sleep deprivation, so they're a tie. Next, I'm tired of being busy and always going to doctor's offices, and medication side effects are a pain. Literally.
With hindsight, I can see that that was just a phase of recovery, but at the time, it felt like an eternity. It's hard to put into words just how demoralizing it was to be in so much pain all day, every day. And at night, when I was the most tired, the most desperate, things would always get worse. I noticed a weird pattern. In the late afternoon around 4 p.m., my phantom pain would abruptly get worse. I'm not sure who put my ghost foot on a timer, but it was like clockwork. During the day, I still had pain, but that night shift was the part I dreaded. As the weeks passed, I noticed that the start of the night shift gradually shifted later and later. Instead of 4 p.m., the night shift started closer to 5, then a week or two after that, closer to 6. I wish I'd tracked it, but honestly, since everyone's different, I'm not sure how relevant those details would have been. I don't even know how common this weird phenomenon is. The point is that even though the pain itself remained overwhelming, there were subtle signs that my body was adapting.
Even though I'm in significant pain right now, and especially at night, I'm not in as much pain now as I was a week ago. I'm improving. Maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but for me, as someone whose condition was constantly getting worse and worse and worse, to have improvement, even if it's slow, even if it takes longer than I'd prefer, just seeing that I am getting better, that today is better than yesterday, is amazing.
Part of adapting is learning how to cope. When the phantom pain first started, I was scrambling to find a solution. When nothing, I tried to put a dent in the pain. I switched from problem-solving mode to acceptance and coping. I found things to distract myself with late at night when I was hurting. But while distractions didn't lessen the pain, they helped me not to focus on it.
For the sake of morale, whenever I'm in pain, I like to look back to where I was a week or two before. And when I do that, I see that, yeah, I might be in a lot of pain right now, but it's not as bad as a week or two ago. Yeah, I didn't sleep at all last night because I was in a lot of pain. But a few weeks ago, I had 5 nights in a row with no sleep.
If you're prone to depression or suicidal thoughts, I strongly recommend talking to your doctor, counselor, or loved ones ahead of time. Because this phase of recovery combines such intense, nonstop pain with feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and uncertainty, it can be a recipe for disaster. Do you need someone to check in on you? Are you on antidepressants? Can a professional recommend specific coping strategies? If you're at risk, please talk with your care team and put a plan in place before the crisis hits. This phase of recovery is hard, pain-filled, and depressing, but it didn't last forever. I'm 2.5 years post-amputation, and while my journey hasn't been picture perfect, life is a whole lot better than it was during those first couple months post-amputation. It's also better than it was living with a crippled foot that I couldn't even walk on. I don't think my life will ever be as easy as it was before my foot got messed up. Yet I've learned to appreciate the improvements along the way. If you're in the middle of recovery, hang in there. You're going through something intense, but this phase of recovery is temporary. Eventually, you'll find your new norm, whatever that turns out to be. It's different for everyone, but I'm optimistic that even after dark times, the sun will still rise and there will be happy days ahead.
Whatever you're going through, hang in there. Even when it's hard, keep trying. Don't give up. And believe in better days to come. I'll see you next time. Bye.